Each Black Widow bat is made from the finest English willow that Dave imports from J.S. Wright & Sons in Essex, England. The first step in the process is to shape the cleft.
The shape of the jig's basically showing you where I'm taking the scoop out of the bat. In this one, for example, it's the middle scoop I'm taking out. Okay, that's pretty much done. Now we're going to go on to the next process, which is the pressing of the cleft. Now we're going to basically come through to here. This is what's called the press. Now the angle that I took off that face there, okay, is the same angle as the roller that we're going to use here on the press to compress the wood. English willow is exceptionally soft. I can actually put my nail through there quite easily. So when the guys say that top players' bats aren't pressed at all, it's not really, it's very far from the truth. They have to compress them in a way that there are different blades you use for players. Okay, from this stage I've just got to wet this. We don't want it cracking under the pressure. The blades have to be pressed slowly so that they don't break up too quickly. In reality, because the willow is so soft and got quite a high moisture content, we could almost press it halfway down if we wanted to that area. That's how much we could compress it. The problem with that is it would be like a barn door. Your bat would last you 10 years, but it wouldn't go that well. So we've got to get the right sound and response when we're pressing these clefts. Because we use a different technique to most other companies, I won't fully press it now. I'll sort of slightly underpress this. Once we've spliced it, which we'll go to next and put the handle in, we will then actually oil these. And then in about a day or two's time, we'll come back and repress them to where we feel they'll make a really top bat. From this stage, okay, I've got to splice one of the ends. And I've got to check which is going to be the best end for the handle and which is the best end for the bottom of the bat or the toe. Okay, and what I look for here is how straight the grain runs. Okay, and I normally look at the bottom and have a look at how the grain runs through that side. I'll turn it around and have a look. And you can see by that when it runs off at quite a bad angle. So generally it's not as strong there, so this is probably my end I'm going to put the handle into. Okay, because you don't want to hit one at the bottom and it cracks, you know, quite quickly.
Having selected which end to splice, it's now time to choose a handle to insert into the cleft.
Handles made from cane. Okay, it's the same stuff used for your garden furniture. What they do is they split that cane and they glue in rubber inserts in between to make it more flexible. Okay, you need to have a good quality handle. The problem is a lot of the bats made abroad, they use a cheaper handle and bats tend to crack quicker through the shoulder area.
First, the cleft is inserted into a machine, making a V-shaped cut at the top of the blade. Then, Dave will do a similar cut with the handle so that it will splice into the cleft for a perfect fit.
Okay, now we'll have to work this down a little bit more to make sure it fits 100%. Okay, so that's on to our next process. Okay, what people must realize is the fit of this spliced handle into the cleft should be that tight that you could actually play a game with the bat before the handle popped out. Okay, you'll often find once again with guys that don't have much of an idea or don't have great tools, they'll have to start putting polyfiller in or extra little pieces. Okay, so this is a very, very crucial part of getting the bat together. Okay, they did a test with Lance Krusner that where the splice is, the handle actually bent for 16 degrees when you hit a ball. So, you know, that's why occasionally if you get a dry handle it can snap.
The master craftsman then applies a generous amount of standard wood glue to the handle before slotting it perfectly into the splice of the blade.
Perfect fit. All we're doing now is we're just putting a bit of pressure on the edges here to ensure that it clamps nicely overnight. We'll normally leave it for 24 hours, but I wouldn't suggest you play with it for at least 48 hours.
Once the glue is dried and the handle is firmly attached to the blade, it is then thoroughly sanded down by Cecil, who has been mastering the art of bat making under Dave's tutelage for the last 4 years. What was once a log of wood is starting to take shape and is looking more and more like the finished product. After sanding it down, the bat is then oiled to ensure the utmost protection for the wood.
This is the difference between an oil bat and a non-oil bat. Okay, clearly you can see the one's darker than the others. The reason we oil bats is so we can seal the natural moisture inside the timber. Okay? And that's why we do it. South Africa's got harsh conditions. We've got to make sure that we look after our bats. And the best way to treat it is with oil. Okay? The advantage I've got is we will repress this once we've oiled to ensure that it doesn't get too soft. Okay?
Now comes one of the unique parts in the Black Widow process, as Dave uses a draw knife or Cooper's blade to shape each bat according to the customer's specifications.
With this, we can take off big sections of the wood. So we'll pre-shape with the draw knife. Once I've got the shape that I'm looking for, I will then go on to other hand tools. From this stage, after speaking to the player, we'll decide whether he wants a higher sweet spot or a low one, and we'll make the bat accordingly to his specs.
Dave then shapes the shoulders of the bat using the draw knife again. It's very important at this point to make sure the shoulders are the same on each side, as it prevents cracking later on. He finishes the shoulders off with spoke shaves, after which the bat will be sanded down again to give the handle a really nice feel.
The next very important tool are the old box planes. Okay, we've actually converted this old box plane to a rounded face so we can get a bit of a scoop going out the back of the bat. The reason we do that is because most of the guys now want to leave a thicker edge, and we've got to remove the wood somewhere. Not a huge fan of it, but I've got to go with the changes being made. You can see here it's starting to create the slight curvature. And we also just keep shaping that more and more.